Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 514 at scavengerlife.com.
I think I feel like I need to preface. Are you ready to go on... Preface. Are you ready to go on a train ride?
Again?
Because sometimes I feel like I have a train of thought.
Okay.
And sometimes you don't like it. Okay, here we go.
Ow!
So, the season for me is firewood. It is the season of firewood.
Yes.
I am trying to get all of our firewood chopped and split and stacked before it gets really hot for when it gets cold.
Right, so if you're stacking and chopping firewood when it's hot outside, it's
not great.
Sucks.
Yeah, it's not great. So I did some of that this morning. I probably have...
I saw you doing that.
I probably have one more good splitting day and then a stacking day. And then we'll have wood for the winter time. And I always do like a winter and a half. So
yeah, there's always a little bit left
so
over.
That's a real big part of our scavenging, because our house is small enough where a wood stove can heat up the whole stove. So sometimes I wonder, like, would it really be...
Yeah.
Would it really... Yeah, the whole house. Would it really... be that much more expensive just to have a heat pump for our house? Probably wouldn't.
Well, we'd have to install it.
Yeah.
That's an expense.
Yeah, I'm just but it feels good. As a scavenger, it feels good. And that's the thing, I think, with being a scavenger. Some of it is sometimes I'm like, why are we driving 2 hours to get this refrigerator? Why don't we...
God. Did we even talk about the refrigerator story? No. That was a great story.
Yeah, so this cafe where we've opened... We started with a single refrigerator in our storage building. Yeah, in the roaster building. And we realized we needed 3 of them. Yeah. So me and you, over the course of a week, found on Craigslist 2 fridges. The perfect fridges, $100 each. Great deal.
Yes.
But each of them was driving basically 4 hours round trip,
Right, because first of all, it's hard to find a deal, and second of all, it's hard to find the exact one you want.
Right, and so, this podcast, we talk about eBay a lot, but really it's really about scavenging, It's finding the valuable things that society is throwing away or just has too much of,
right.
Like firewood. Like the firewood, I'm not going out into the woods and chopping down a tree.
No.
I'm... there's a guy that does lawn care and he cuts down trees. He'll dump a bunch of logs in our yard, or
because he has to find a place to get rid of them too.
Or in our yard, we have about an acre and there's a lot of trees, and I'm always keeping an eye on any dead trees. And if there's a dead tree, we do cut that down. And I think
we cut down 2 dead trees this year.
But it's about scavenging, and that's the nice thing. It's about it really is a good feeling to me.
Well, it is resource management, right? Where you're I could have just gone to the store. I could have gone to the Home Depot or wherever and bought a fridge.
Right.
But they
would have come and dropped it off and installed it and then taken away the old one. I mean, my God.
Now that would have cost maybe $800. Right. So for $100, and driving and time,
but it feels so good.
Yeah,
and and so we talk about eBay because eBay has traditionally been the biggest online flea market. Really, it's still the place for us to sell the things that we have. And I really feel I'm starting to realize this past year, 16 months. I've really let my scavenger, its muscles get really weak.
You baby.
Really? I mean,
yeah.
When this pandemic first started, I was really getting into online auctions like a lot of people have now. And now I just I barely even do
But we loaded up so much. I mean, the reason is we loaded up on so much stuff during that time. We have no more room to store stuff.
But my point is online auctions are cool, but there's only so many tabs I can open and follow and look at, and then it just starts getting blind. Around where we are, things are opening back up, and so we went to a couple of yard sales recently, and I found all this great stuff.
I found great stuff at yard sales.
It was so much fun. I forgot how much fun it is to go to a junky...
You have no idea what's going to be there.
A junky...
It could be anything.
Yard sale where And you're asking how much, and things are like a quarter. And
I went to a yard sale yesterday. This was so funny. I went to go do the recycling, and there's a church right next to the recycling center, and they have an annual yard sale, and we've been to it many, many years, and I just happened to be driving by, and I was like, I cannot believe everything is a quarter. So scavenge of the week, scavenge of the month was like 3 sets of 100% cotton, almost brand new king size sheets in white.
Yep, white.
Because we use those in our Airbnb rental. For 2 huge bags worth, $5.
I had no idea.
Unbelievably cheap.
I had no idea how expensive sheets are. Because, I'm the kind of guy that is buying like the Amazon Basics.
Yeah, it is Amazon Basics.
Cheap sheets, and you're like, oh, it's a good deal. But if you want for real, like 1,000 thread count sheets,
hotel style,
they're how much?
So I looked up this brand. It's Wamsutta,
right?
And I looked up the brand on Amazon for that size and that thread count. It was $285 for a set.
Yeah.
What?
But you can tell you can
tell the difference. Yeah. But when you're renting an Airbnb and every time you grab your linens, there's like a mark on them or like whatever. You're like, I'm not spending $300 on a set. Right. Yeah. So I was like, you talk about a scavenger high. I was like, yes, yeah, right. I am the perfect person to buy these.
I know. And so exciting. And so it's good. I'm really excited about the world opening back up and getting back out and scavenging. It is exciting.
It is fun to find stuff. You just never know what's out there.
Yeah, but since our scavenger eBay helper is now, he put in his 2 weeks, so I think he's coming 1 or 2 more times.
Yeah.
I feel like we're back at square one where we have death piles, like a death room of stuff. And so we got to find a new person.
Like he gave pictures. His 2 weeks and I was like, oh my God. First of all, I have to find someone.
Yeah.
Second of all, I have to train them.
Yeah. I find the person.
I'll train them.
You train them.
No problem.
That's how it works. I have my feelers out in the community.
Good.
So I read this article this week that I vibed with.
Yeah. Okay. You vibed with it.
I vibed with it. Okay. So there is a convent near where
it's in Jamaica Plain.
Grew up.
I grew up in Jamaica Plain. It's a neighborhood of Boston, and I used to drive by that convent all the time.
And other people probably saw this article. I feel like it vibed with other people too.
Yeah, sure.
And so there's this young nun who was a punk rock girl. Mm-hmm. She was into like the Dead Kennedys.
Probably my age.
Yeah, and then suddenly, I don't get it, but anyway, she had like a conversion and found God and became a nun. But she's still like a punk rock nun.
Yeah,
and her whole thing is about death.
Yep.
And so she's a part of this like. What do you call a group of nuns? Like a nunnery?
It's a convent.
Convent, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like a flock of nuns.
There's something, yeah.
They're all into death, and they make little skulls.
Yeah.
So on like sweatshirts and T-shirts and little skulls that you can put on your desk. Okay. Because the whole thing is...
Yeah, explain what it is.
Because, and I'm all about this. I know I've talked about it on the podcast, but I think about it all the time. I think about my own death. And she's like, you have to remember you're going to die. Everybody dies. Your body rots. Every face becomes a skull. That's her thing. Because,
let's really get to the point here.
Sure.
You want to take advantage of the time you have.
Exactly.
That's the whole point. Right. It's not just like...
And this is something she came up with. This is like if you're in the Catholic or Tibetan or Hindu, it's like Memento mori. Remember your death, or remember that you have to die.
Right.
And it's like a meditation kind of thing. Like as long as you remember that and don't get a huge big ego, like you're all powerful or whatever.
Right. Like it doesn't matter.
And this moment right now is the most important thing.
Yep.
I love it. Why am I talking about this? Because for me, it's all about scavenging. It's like, that's why we live our life now. Yep. I love being able to go out, find things, sell them, get some coins in my hands so I can pay people, so I can live in my house.
Yep.
And then I have my time because this is it. I love that.
Well, it's doing, like we always talk about.
Every face becomes a skull, right?
Yes, that's very true. See, sometimes you're funny. Like, you don't get to the point right away to, like, then...
It's a train! It's a train of thought.
But it's like, tell me what you're telling me and then go into it. Not like, she's really into death. You're like, okay, is this a true crime podcast here? No, we're talking about this in relation to owning your time, being independent, doing what you want to do, and not waiting around until you're retired to think you're just going to play golf all day.
And I feel like I like, because I'm
before you die.
I am it's romantic. I feel like scavengers are it's philosophers.
Yes,
not romance, but like...
But, yeah. No, I know what you mean.
A romantic mind.
Yes. That's why I know what it means, and I still laugh. Okay.
And I feel other scavengers, my dream is other scavengers the same way. That's why people choose a scavenger way of life, is because you're like a part of society, but you're kind of a little bit on the outside, and you're digging through the stuff that people don't want and making value out of it, and you're just thinking about the world while you're doing it.
Well, it's funny.
I love it.
So there's a couple of subreddits that I follow. This is like what I do at 3 a.m. I don't look through Instagram. I look through Reddit. I'm just like, what are people doing? They're dumpster diving, and there's zero waste, and there's frugal.
Right.
So, and those kind of all sort of intersect. Like you'll see people reposting on them. But I love dumpster diving because I totally do that. I find stuff in our compost sometimes where I'm like, oh my God. Like there was some like citrus being composted that we had just like zested the thing, and it started to get almost rotten, like too ripe, and I was like, I'm so using these, and I'm like, that's such a dumpster dive where it's like,
I know our business partners in our cafe, one of them plays a little game with our employees where I now know this is what he's doing. He tells our employees, watch this. And he'll come up to me and be like, Jay, do you want this thing? Like an old a biscuit, or like there's some coffee we ground that we can't use. I'd normally just throw it away. I'm like, absolutely, I'll take it.
Of course
and they all start laughing because I'll take anything.
Well, what's funny is at the end of the day, if there's leftover stuff that can't be used the next day, which is certainly some things,
give it to me.
I always say, if someone's like, oh, do you want this thing? I'm like, well, is it going to be sold tomorrow? Then I don't want it. I want the stuff that's going to be thrown away. Right. And I think our employees start to, it was really cute. We make lemonade. So if there's
like hand squeeze
lemonade. So there was half a lemon left. And Phil was like, I can't use this tomorrow. I can't just let it sit in the fridge. And I was like, oh, I'll take it. And he started saying, are you going to eat that right now? He thought I was going to eat it like an apple. And I was like, no, I'm going to like put it in my seltzer when I get home. But the cute thing was the next day, he was like, I have another half a lemon. And one of our employees, who's like a teenager, was like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's like,
okay.
put it on your salad tonight.
It's okay to be like a grown adult and like stuff. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like getting stuff out of the trash.
Yeah.
So that was a good train.
It is good. A good train of thought. Sometimes stories, Ryan, sometimes it's good to like lead with the headline. That's like the way to write news. I wrote news for a while. You start with the headline. It's called the pyramid style. You start here with the headline, and then you break the story down.
So that's upside down pyramid.
One way to start it. Another, though, is to allow it to blossom like a flower, and so I was allowing it to blossom like a flower. Okay. Let's talk about eBay. Stephen Schultz, we had asked him on the podcast, like we had given a question, and then he answered us. Our question was, how do you on eBay let eBay know this has to get shipped in multiple boxes.
Right.
And there's no way to do it. And Steven says, concerning shipping more than one box for an order, I seem to do it a little different every time, but if the 2 boxes combined is not over 70 pounds, I will measure out and enter the dimensions of the largest box and combine the weight of both, and it usually comes out in my favor by a couple bucks. Of course, I'm more central in the country, so that may be a factor. Mm-hmm. I've also done the extra handling route, where you just say, and it's $10 extra. Just
to cover.
I'll figure the rate to the furthest destination, and that has been my handling fee. You can always refund the buyer for any overcharge, but it's tougher to get them to pay more after the sale. Yep. So it's true. How do you feel about that? That
sounds correct. Yeah. I mean, I honestly have never had that problem because we just don't sell things like that. Yeah. But he was the perfect person to ask because I know he ships stereo components where you're selling the whole thing and there's like 4 different parts.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a good answer.
Somebody sent in, and we were talking on the forum about this, the power selling program is ending.
What? I don't even remember what power selling was.
So I said the same thing. I was like, I personally don't even know what the power program was. I think it's one of those old parts of eBay when eBay was all about like, it's like gamifying. You're a power seller,
the badges.
You have like little stars, and
and really top-rated seller sort of.
Well, power seller was a badge, so if we get a badge next to your username, and really there's no other benefits. And I just feel like eBay is just weeding out the old junk. I mean,
they should.
The email they sent to us too, they were like, there's not going to be a power seller. But if you do these things, you can become a top-rated seller.
Yeah, like this is the new program.
Yeah.
As it has been for the last 15 years or something.
I feel like there's, and it's good. It's good. I like that eBay's modernizing or whatever. I think that there's whoever is behind eBay right now, they're kind of going through and like clearing out.
Gardening.
Weeding. Some, and like getting rid of things and combining things. And,
I mean, maybe that's why some stuff in the back end was, sales were crazy slow the last 3 weeks. And we're like, I wonder if it's because they're like stripping stuff down on the back end and they're like clearing stuff out.
Yeah.
It could be.
And then another change is there's going to be no more adult item category. So, that's where if you search for something and they'll be like, the item is like covered up and you have to click on it and say I'm 18 years old. And then it's like a nude lady or a nude man. I mean, they're not going to have that
So
anymore.
you can't sell like old like Playboy magazines or something.
People, the way they wrote, so if you just Google it and it's in the, it's forum to eBay's like announcement. It's very hazy to understand. Like, so can I just put Playboys up? I mean, what's
in the magazine, like periodical collectibles?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's weird. I don't know. I heard some people talking about it, but I wasn't sure like what the solution was.
I mean, for us, we're like, I don't really care. I don't think it's, it's not a category that we're really deep into. But I know there are some people that like they specialize in like
that's the thing.
A vintage kitsch nudes. And,
Well, exactly. That I mean, I'm just thinking of the people who do specialize in those categories.
Right. Those people are like, what?
Those people are like, my business is over. I don't understand where they're supposed to sell that stuff.
Yeah, or if just like, does it matter? I mean, I don't know. Like, does eBay like, can you not have like a nude person on the like? That seems very old fashioned too.
No, but like, it's not just like kitschy vintage pinups. It's like other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're being naive here as to what people sell on eBay. Because I'll like do searches and you stumble on some of those things and you're like,
whoa,
what? Why is eBay just showing this to me out in the open?
Okay.
I don't think it shouldn't be on the site, but I think it should be like it seems to have supposed to be behind like a little click wall.
Yeah.
But I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out.
I guess someone
anybody knows.
if someone specializes in that stuff.
And then the other thing is, someone was mentioning about the unpaid item assistant. Simon actually brought this up. I don't know if you have noticed this or not, but it's not automatically put in.
Relisted. Yeah. The weird thing with eBay is, in my experience, for years, it would sometimes relist things, and sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes it would give you a checkbox, hey, do you want to relist this thing? And you're like, yeah.
Right.
And then when it didn't give you the checkbox, you were like, is it not going to do that?
So if someone makes an offer, we accept the offer.
They don't pay.
Normally, in the old days, you just had to you had to manually end it and put it back up.
Right.
And then eBay started this thing where you could turn on this unpaid item thing, and after
4 days,
4 days, it would automatically end it, and it was supposed to put it back up.
I think so. So
it's not doing that now, and so the danger is if you don't stay on top of that. This is how people start having stranded inventory, where they go through and they're like, "Why aren't these things in my store?" Well, because they ended and they didn't get put back up.
Right. So I try to, which is rare. I mean, we don't have unpaid item cases, maybe one a week, if that. So I just have to, keep on top of it. Where when the unpaid item case ends, you get that email. What I do is I keep it as unread. It's basically a to-do list. Keep it as unread. And then when I have a chance, I'm like, okay, relist it. And then I can delete that email.
Well, I will say you are very good at that, because when we did our inventory a year ago, we found very few items that were stranded. So
And the ones that were stranded, I found a half of a bin of something. This is one example that had never been listed, because I think what happened was we took photos of it, and instead of it getting into the listing pile, it went into inventory right away, and that was a different circumstance.
And those always make me feel okay if it's like our error. I mean, it's not great, but then at least we can blame us. I always just get afraid when people say eBay just automatically ended all these things out from under my nose. Okay, let's do our numbers.
Okay, numbers. How was this week? Was it better? I think it was better.
Yeah.
There were a couple large/expensive items that we sold.
Yeah, the trend is upward. So we sold 32 items. Mm-hmm. Pretty good. So 7 days, so 5-6 items a day.
Yeah, which is good.
Not bad. Gross sales, including fees and shipping and taxes, $1,359.
So we made about $1,000.
Net sales, $9,069.
$9,000.
$969.
Yeah, $924.
Okay, yeah. So we're getting close to the 1,000 we need to make,
Some of those items, I sold 2 rugs this week. So those were heavy, bulky, expensive shipping. As you can see, it was almost $400 in shipping.
Yeah.
But those were expensive. One of the rugs was, God, we've had that rug I could not sell it to save my life. And it's such a cute rug. It's wool. It was a West Elm.
It was a West Elm rug?
Yeah, it had great colors. It was shippable. Like, the size was like I could actually ship it. I sold that for $150.
It was just one of those weird things we have where I'm like, this is going to sell quick, and it takes forever.
And it takes 2 years.
Finally sold.
$150. I sold.
Great deal.
I mean,
to that person, they got a good deal.
I really hope they don't return it. Another rug was like a smaller flat weave that I could fold in half, and that was going to Colorado, so that was inexpensive.
We sold a vintage political poster, like an LBJ poster, for only $100. It
was only $100.
Oh my God, it's breaking my heart.
It was actually smaller than I thought. Remember that we had this really big poster of someone, the governor of Florida in the 60s or something, but then this LBJ one was about 18 by $12
but cool,
or something.
like the real deal.
It was it's just an amazing piece of history. It was sold for $100 to someone in London.
I think we had it up for $250.
I think I had it up for, it was $299 on sale for $240.
But it's that kind of,
and someone's like $100. I was like, yes,
that kind of weird.
I will take $100.
But we also have just been selling again. We consistently are selling a lot of clothes,
clothes, hats.
Shoes, so
pants.
I mean,
just like we'll go forever without selling clothes, and then it's like all these travel T-shirts. Right. It is a summer. I sold in Alaskan Denali National Park, and I was like, why would someone buy this? Someone in Australia. So they're like, oh, cool, American.
But again, that to me reinforces why I love selling all kinds of everything, because sometimes clothes don't sell at all. You're like, why are we even selling clothes? But then they're there, ready to be bought, and then in this period, it's getting us through this period, where we're selling a lot of clothes.
Yeah.
Scavenger, the week we talked about it, we both were scavenging separately.
Yes.
It was just yard sales that each of us would see as we're driving around.
Right.
And I'm so proud of you.
I stopped
for stopping
yard sale
on your own without telling me or without me having to tell you.
You're like,
you to do it.
Sure.
And it was fun, right?
And it was fun, and I actually saw a couple of people that I knew, and just those prices for stuff. You're like, it doesn't even matter what you're buying.
The when I went to, it was donation only, which I always hate because I'm like,
well, how much did I give you?
I always overpay, so I mean, it was so. I mean, I was like, how much is she? And she's like, donation, like, give me a couple bucks. I mean, like, I gave her like $10 because I felt so bad. Like, this is worth a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I spent $10 also. I got all those sheets and then a huge box full of like all this vintage stuff.
Right. It's exciting.
So I was like, $10.
Yep.
Yeah.
I already talked about things we learned in the forum, all those like eBay announcements that people had talked about. Okay, let's go to the questions or comments that people sent in this week.
Okay, you can call our voicemail line. The phone number is 540-407-8486. Or you can email us an audio file from your phone. Our email is thescavengerlife@gmail.com.
Dearest Scavengers, I kind of feel like eBay is hiding that open and unpaid item case button. I was previously, when I wanted to open a case, I could find the button in the drop-down box under the awaiting payment words in my seller hub. And now it seems like they got rid of that little button. And now they're making me have to go to the cases page. And then I have to use the resolve a problem box. This has always been an option, but I never had to use it before. And also, how do you feel about that when you buy a label, a shipping label, and then you they have a little show more button now over on the right-hand side. Kind of feels like a conspiracy. You show up to buy a label, and they have the first option checked. For me, it's usually a priority option. And then over on the right-hand side, you have to click a little button that says show more if you want to see what option your buyer really chose. Usually it's the economy option. But anyways, they're hiding that, so you don't have to look if you want to just assume that you know what they paid. But now I'm stuck clicking that little box or that button. It's a button all the time. And also today eBay started wasting my time again. They're hitting all my shoes and they're making me add. They're calling that required and recommended item specifics. They're hitting my shoes, making me add the sizes back in, and then in the top it shows the US and the UK and the EU, and then I just scroll down, click another button to show more, and then I have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page and find the sizes I already had entered. And I got to remember those and scroll back to the top of the page and add them back in there. So I just wanted to thank eBay for wasting my time again. All right, later.
So I'll start with the first thing, and that is his final thing about the shoe sizes. Yeah, yes. People were complaining about the shoe sizes. I believe that eBay announced that they were doing some stuff and that happened and that they were going to get everything back the way it was. Sometimes when eBay does stuff like that, I feel like the best thing to do is not to do anything, is to wait and see if they fix their error.
I think someone said, like you said, that
rather than going right away.
I would not want to go into all my...
Yeah. So did you understand the first part?
So the first part,
item assistance.
Open case, find the button, then drop down box, awaiting payment. I don't know because I never open an unpaid item case because I have the assistant turned on. But I have noticed that eBay is moving things around. The one that I noticed that's kind of similar is when you have a bunch of stuff to ship, but someone had requested, this happened to me this week, someone requested a cancellation. It's nowhere. You have to like go to cancellations and you're like, why would I even look at that? And I mean, they send you an email, so you're like knowing there's a cancellation. But I would always think that it would be on the, shipping page or all payments page. But they kind of hide it. It might be on the all payments page. But yeah, I never looked at that.
That is one thing that is tough with eBay and with any site is when someone starts doing a redesign and they start to move things because, I'm in a flow. Like I have certain pages I go to. I'm looking at specific info. Right. I know where everything is. I have everything linked, and then they start changing things, and it doesn't seem to change it for the better. It's just changing it to change it, and that is problematic. But
so a similar thing is how when you're on the shipping label page, they have all the info. You can put your dimensions and your size and like priority, UPS, FedEx, whatever. But they, like you said, they are hiding how much the buyer paid for shipping. There is like a show more click down like arrow. Why don't they just show it?
Yeah.
Like there's enough room on the page to show that my buyer paid $7.50 for shipping.
Right.
Why? Because I want to know. Am I overpaying? Am I paying $9.50 for this to ship?
Do I need to change how I'm doing things?
Yeah, do I need to put this in a poly mailer and put it on, pirate ship because I got to fit it in a certain size?
Right.
Why don't they just show that? I agree. I'm like, I don't really, I click on it because I'm like, am I making sure that why should I have to click on it? Yeah, it's kooky. I'm like, why would they do that? It just seems, I think, so the shipping label page is new. The packing, shipping, and like pick list thing is new. I think a lot of us actually got interviewed by the designers who were doing it. I was on a Zoom call with them a couple months ago. So then they implemented it. And there's certain things like that show more that you're like, oh my God, you guys. I feel like hopefully in the next 6 months, they'll hear from enough people that are like, just show us the price.
Right.
And they're like, oh, okay.
Real quick, one thing this is not about the calls, something I forgot to talk about, and that is problems with buyers, customer issues.
Yeah.
And it's totally okay. It's legal. It's like, it can happen. It just stinks. We had 3 items get bought that were worth $160, like by different people, and they were all canceled.
Right, they were canceled, not returned. Right. They so I sold. So yeah. Side note,
it's tough on a week.
Well, what sucks also is I have this set of super 1980s, early 90s, like China. It's like Mikasa, Studio Nova, and I loved it. Everyone laughed at me at the auction when I bought it. Seriously, people were laughing, so they thought it was so ugly. And I was like, oh no, I'm totally buying this. Someone bought a set of 3 like soup/salad bowls for like $36. And I was like, yes, finally, someone wants this pattern. Immediately they asked to cancel it. And under the cancellation, I saw that they were like shipping address issue. So I messaged them and I was like, oh, let me know how can I fix this? They never wrote back. I'm like, okay, I'm going to cancel it because I just want to relist it. So I canceled it. And then she writes me and she's like, yeah, I need it sent to this other address, but it's in California. So it's going to be more expensive. So again, this is one of those things where you're like,
is she going to buy it?
Well, I don't know. So I was like, well, you need to put that address in so that the shipping price will be correct for California.
Right.
And I can just make a label for them with the correct address. But now you have to rebuy it.
Right.
No answer. It's kooky. I hate it when people cancel stuff.
Yeah.
I try to write to all cancellations and say, is this a mistake?
Are you sure you
because listen to me. There have been times when people are like, oh, I just wanted to make sure that I could combine it with the other thing I bought. And I'm like, oh, why didn't they just write to me? And they're like canceling it.
Yeah, or eBay doesn't allow people to, I won't say buy it, to change anything.
Yeah, right, to change the shipping.
Like,
Hey, Jay and Ryan, this is Tom in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I was just giving you guys a quick call because I noticed there's been a lot of questions lately about people's information and all that, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but this is just another case where File Exchange comes to the rescue. If anybody's having a hard time finding their customers' information, just download your sales to a spreadsheet from File Exchange, and you'll have right there at hand, your buyer's user ID, their full name, their address, their phone number, their buyer's email, their original email address, not the secret eBay coded email address, but their actual email address. And then you'll have if they have a separate shipping address, you'd have that address. I mean, basically everything for every sale. You can just download it and you'll have it right there. So, anyway, I just thought I'd mention it. Appreciate all you do. You guys have a great week. Thanks. Bye.
So that was a little hard to hear in the beginning, but what he says is use File Exchange to download all your orders. And I guess if you do that every week, you'll have a record, like an archive record of the email, even if it's that, in quotes, anonymized member at ebay.com. It's kind of like Craigslist where they anonymize it. But I guess my question is, so say if in 30 days someone writes to you and they're like, I never got this. I think it's getting returned. I'll pay to reship it. The whole situation that I had. If I email them with that blah, blah, blah at ebay.com, will that email still work? Or will it just not go into the ether?
It's like...
Because I think I tried that. Yeah.
It's like...
it expires.
Also, do you know how to operate
File Exchange? No, I have no idea how to do it. It's not really helpful. So people rave about it because so when you do a bulk edit of eBay where you're like, edit 500 things, all it is a user, a user interface to edit spreadsheets.
Right.
It's a database. Right. It's a spreadsheet on the back end. That's all it is. And so eBay is allowing you to download that raw data, which I probably should do anyway.
And plus, I think it's really, to me, it seems like it's probably good for people that sell a lot of the same things. Yeah. So, they have SKUs or, and they can...
quantities, change the quantity,
change everything, and then
exactly. So, but for us, I'm like, I sell that, I never see it again. Hopefully.
There was something else that eBay had that seemed like that eBay stopped supporting.
Oh, it was, So it was, what was the? I forget what it was called because it was the PC version of doing File Exchange, but it had a user.
Gotcha.
But it was only for PC. It wasn't for Mac. Remember, we were like, oh yeah, we totally want to use that, but I have to get a Windows operating system on my Mac just to do it. It's so annoying. But then we used InkFrog to do all our backups. Yeah. So
thanks, InkFrog.
Yeah, InkFrog is actually really, really helpful.
I will say, someone, our buddy in West Virginia, he. Retro Treasure WV. He's getting around to his taxes just now. You're a little late.
He says, if you file an extension.
Yeah, it's fine. He said he uses GoDaddy Bookkeeping still, but he says this will probably be his last year. We also use GoDaddy Bookkeeping. It was a good system for a while. Time. It was called Outright when it first started.
And then GoDaddy bought it.
GoDaddy bought it, which I think a lot of us saw
why?
That's not going to be a good thing. And we stopped using GoDaddy Bookkeeping 2 or 3 years ago.
Years ago,
because it stopped syncing to a lot of important accounts we have, and we would try and communicate with them, and it just seemed very clear.
Well, they just didn't care.
They were not going to improve or check or do anything. And anyway, he says that when he did his taxes, it's just a big mess, and he didn't get any help either, and so I don't know why GoDaddy Bookkeeping would buy a product and then not support it. Either they figured out they don't make a lot of money on it, or I
just don't know why
it was an acquire a hire where you buy a company just to for the people inside of the business.
They must have, because it's so, you're like, why would GoDaddy do bookkeeping? It's just so dumb.
So, not just to complain here, so we have moved over to Wave.
Which is also free.
So,
I'm sorry, it's free.
Yeah, so if you Google it, it's I guess like Wave Accounting or something. Wave. There are parts of it that you can pay for, but if you're just doing like this bookkeeping,
it's free.
It's free.
Last month, one of my accounts stopped syncing, and it keeps giving me an error. It's our main checking account.
Still now?
Yeah.
Oh no.
So I'm kind of like,
oh no.
Should I just move to
what?
QuickBooks? I guess I'm so cheap that I'm like, I don't want to have to pay. Because honestly, just like I was saying with eBay, I'm just doing a spreadsheet. I'm just teaching it to know every time I buy at this place, it's merchandise, or whatever.
I know we haven't really dove into it. There's that spreadsheet that you can buy.
It's an eBay.
It's like Easy Accounting or something. I forgot what it's called.
Really?
But it's PC based because it's Excel. But I wonder if I remember I emailed the guy or the person that makes it, and I said, can I import this to Google Sheets? Oh, yeah. And they were like, oh no, try it. And I did never do it. It's $50, and
I feel like
it syncs.
It is like the advantage of doing online accounting is that the software is supposed to learn what your stuff is.
Right.
So if you eat at a restaurant, you're like, that's meals and entertainment.
Right. And Shell gasoline.
Right. Like, it doesn't always do that. Or like when you get an Airbnb payment, that's rental income, you know, like stuff like that. But I'm like, should I just do it by hand in a spreadsheet? I mean, at this point, it's, you're like, I know all my categories. And at the end of the year, I just make a spreadsheet for my accountant anyway. It's not like they're doing it for me. But
yeah, I guess it's just nice to have a system that's automatically importing all of your accounts. And then you're just having to go through and teach rather than every month. You'd have to, I guess,
but I'm saying it stopped
CSVs.
Syncing thing. And so now I have to manually put a CSV in.
Anyway, yeah.
But I don't know.
It is very strange to me that eBay and Amazon, like, I don't know what people... I feel like everyone has some hodgepodge way of doing it, and everyone has their own special spreadsheets. Yeah, it's strange. Anyway, we talked about it too long.
Accounting.
Right. Is that the last?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, just quick coffee talk. So we are, as you can probably hear,
we're in the roaster building.
Our commercial fridge in the corner there.
Buzzing.
That is making noise. We are in our roaster building, right a block away from our cafe on a Sunday, a rainy Sunday, because we've had the best day we've ever had in the cafe, and we're here, and our partners are texting us, I need more milk, I need more pastries, I need
you run up here quick.
So
they don't have a single second to come down here and get stuff,
and so it's good,
which is great.
That is a weekend thing for around here. It's definitely quieter during the week, but it's really a good feeling. I took some pictures. You can post one of these pictures.
Post a picture.
And so it's good. And then after they close at 3, I'm going to are going to go and help them clean. Yep. Just to help.
I restocked the coffee. We've been selling a lot of coffee bags.
Yeah.
So if you cannot come to our cafe, you can still support us by buying coffee on broadporchcoffee.com.
Yep. I'm
roasting tomorrow. Get your orders in.
Yep.
So I can ship them to you
ASAP. Then Ryan will roast. I have my packing corner over here. It is the most organized part of the whole building. People walk. This is not a joke. This is not a joke.
We'll take a picture of that.
We had some people come in. We buy pastries from a bakery a town over, and they buy our coffee and they sell in their bakery.
They came in to visit.
And they came to visit. And one of the bakers looked at my area.
Yes.
And she took a picture.
Because
it is so beautiful and organized.
It does. It looks very
So if you buy
good.
coffee, Ryan will roast it and I will be bagging it.
Yep.
And it's a wonderful.
Very. Look, I am on the way to organizing my shipping table because
it looks good. I think you're doing a good job.
I think I did a good job last week, and it's looking pretty sweet.
I think you do a good job.
Okay, BroadPorchCoffee.com.
This podcast is ending in
3, 2, 1. Bye.